Welcome to my channel Learning Electronics. In this lecture number 19 of root locus, we are going to study how to draw the root locus on graph paper with steps. In this lecture, we are taking third problem on how to draw the root locus on graph paper. So before starting the video, please subscribe my channel and also press the bell icon so that you can get more updated videos from here. Question is, a unity feedback control system has open loop transfer function g of s into h of s is equal to k into s plus 1 divided by s into s minus 1 into s square plus 4s plus 16. Obtain the root locus and comment on stability. So first step is to find the poles, number of poles, zeros and number of zeros from the open loop transfer function given. So from this open loop transfer function g of s into h of s, first we will find out open loop poles from the denominator of this transfer function. So first pole will be at s is equal to 0 because of this single s present. Then second pole is at s is equal to plus 1, and from this equation of s square plus 4s plus 16 we will get two complex conjugate poles at s is equal to minus 2 plus minus 3.464 j. Now from the numerator of this transfer function we will find out the open loop zeros. Here we can see that only one open loop zero is there at s is equal to minus 1. So if we count the total number of poles, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Because of this complex conjugate poles, we have 2 poles. That means total number of poles in the transfer function p is equal to 4. And if we see the total number of zeros present in the transfer function, it is only equal to 1. Therefore, we will take z is equal to 1. Now the second step is to draw the pole zero plot, predict the minimum number of breakaway points and section of real axis in which root locus exists by using rule number 3. This rule number 3 we had already studied in the previous classes. So first we will draw the pole zero plot. This is our pole zero plot. We have represented all the poles and all the zeros present in this transfer function on this S plane. Now we have to find the section of real axis in which root locus exists. For this we have to assume one point in between these two poles of s is equal to 0 and s is equal to plus 1, somewhere here. Now by rule number 3 we have to look at the right hand side of this point. To the right hand side of this point we can see that there is only one pole at s is equal to 1, which is odd in number. Therefore this point between s is equal to 0 and s is equal to 1 will lie on the root locus. That means this section of s is equal to 0 and s is equal to 1 will lie on the root locus. Now we will take one point between this s is equal to minus 1 0 and s is equal to 0 pole somewhere here, and again by applying rule number 3 we will look at the right hand side of this point. Then we can see that two poles are existing to the right hand side of this point which are even in number. Therefore this point will not lie on the root locus. That means the section between s is equal to minus 1 and s is equal to 0 will not lie on the root locus. Now we will take one point between this s is equal to minus 1 point and s is equal to minus infinity somewhere here. Again by applying rule number 3 we will look to the right hand side of this point. Then we can see that the total number of poles and zeros are 3. 2 poles and 1 zero. That means total number of poles and zeros is equal to 3, which are odd in number. Therefore this point will lie on the root locus. So since we are getting two sections in which root locus exists, therefore we have two breakaway points on this root locus. Third step is to calculate the angle of asymptotes. For this, first we will write the total number of poles present in this transfer function, which is equal to 4, and total number of zeros is equal to 1. So here we can see that 4 poles are present and only 1 zero is present. Therefore one pole out of these 4 poles will terminate or approach towards this 0 of s is equal to minus 1, and remaining 3 poles will approach towards infinity. Okay, so since three poles are approaching towards infinity, we will have three angle of asymptotes. Now we will use the formula of angle of asymptote. Theta is equal to 2q plus 1 into 180 degree divided by p minus z. Okay, now we will put the value of p and z here. We will get theta is equal to 2q plus 1 into 180 degree divided by 4 minus 1. So this will become 2q plus 1 into 180 degree divided by 3. So we will get 2q plus 1 into 60 degree. So this is the value of theta for this system given. Now we have to find out the range of values of q. So q will go from 0 up to p minus z minus 1. When we put the value of p and z here, we will get 4 minus 1 is equal to 2. That means q will take three values 0, 1 and 2. Now we will keep these values of q in this equation of theta and find out three angle of asymptotes. So first we will take q is equal to 0. At q is equal to 0, we have theta 1 is equal to 60 degree. At q is equal to 1, we have theta 2 is equal to 180 degree, and at q is equal to 2, we have theta 3, which is equal to 300 degrees. So we have three angle of asymptotes. Fourth step is to calculate the centroid, which is the intersection point of the asymptote with the real axis. This centroid is represented by sigma and its formula is summation of real part of poles minus summation of real part of zeros divided by p minus z. Okay, so from the denominator of this transfer function, we can see that first pole is at s is equal to 0, so its real part will be 0. Then second pole at s is equal to plus 1, that means its real part is plus 1, and third and fourth pole are complex conjugate poles which are having real parts minus 2 and minus 2. So here we will write minus 2, then minus of, here we got s is equal to minus 1, 0. Therefore here you will write minus 1 divided by p is 4, z is 1. So from here we will get minus 2 by 3, minus of 0.67 we will get. That means sigma is equal to minus of 0.67 we are getting, which is the centroid, and it is the intersection point of the asymptotes with the real axis. Now next step is to calculate the breakaway points and break-in points. For this we will take the magnitude condition of root locus, which is magnitude of g of s into h of s is equal to 1. Okay, now we will put this equation here. We will get magnitude of k into s plus 1 divided by s into s minus 1 into s square plus 4s plus 16 is equal to 1. Now from this equation we will find out the value of k. K will be equal to s into s minus 1 into s square plus 4s plus 16 divided by s plus 1. So now to find out the breakaway points, we have to differentiate this equation of k with respect to s. That means we have to find out dk by ds. After differentiating this equation with respect to s, we will get this type of equation: 3s to the power 4 plus 10s cube plus 21s square plus 24s minus 16 divided by s plus 1 whole square. Now we have to equate this equation to 0. We will get 3s to the power 4 plus 10s cube plus 21s square plus 24s minus 16 is equal to 0. Now we have to find out the roots of this equation to find out the breakaway or break-in points. So by hit and trial method we will find out the roots of this equation. So we will get two valid breakaway points or two valid roots at s is equal to plus 0.45 and at s is equal to minus of 2.25. 2.25. Now to check the validity of this breakaway point, we have to keep this value of S in this equation of K. So at S is equal to plus 0.45, we will get K is equal to plus 3.45, and at S is equal to minus of 2.25, we will get K is equal to plus 70.56. So now here we can see that both the values of K are positive. That means both these values of S are valid breakaway points. So we get two breakaway points here at S is equal to plus 0.45 and at S is equal to minus of 2.25. Next step is to calculate the intersection point of the root locus with the imaginary axis. For this we have to find out the characteristic equation, which is given by 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0. Now we will keep this equation here. We will get 1 plus k into s plus 1 divided by s into s minus 1 into s square plus 4s plus 16 is equal to 0. We have to solve this equation to find out the final characteristic equation. So after solving this, we will get final characteristic equation as s to the power 4 plus 3s cube plus 12s square plus k minus 16 into s plus k is equal to 0. Now to find out the intersection point of the root locus with the imaginary axis, we have to construct the Routh's array using this characteristic equation. So this is the final Routh's array we are getting from this characteristic equation. Now we have to find out the marginal value of k. For finding out the marginal value of k, we have to make one of the row of this Routh array as row of 0. So we will take this s to the power 1 row. To make this row as row of 0, we have to keep this equation equal to 0. So when we equate this equation equal to 0, we will get 52 minus k into k minus 16 divided by 3 minus 3k is equal to 0. So from this equation we will get the equation of k like this: minus of k square plus 59k minus 832 is equal to 0. So when we solve this equation, we will get two roots of this equation. K is equal to plus 35.68 and k is equal to plus 23.31. So we are getting two values of k marginal. These are k marginal values. Next step is to construct the auxiliary equation. To construct the auxiliary equation, we have to take a row above the row of zeros. This was our row of zeros. So we have to take this s to the power 2 row to form the auxiliary equation. So from this auxiliary equation will be 52 minus k divided by 3 s square plus k is equal to 0. Auxiliary equation is represented by as. As is equal to 52 minus k divided by 3 s square plus k is equal to 0. So from this equation we will get s square is equal to minus of k divided by 52 minus k divided by 3. Now we have to keep the marginal value of k in this equation of s square. So here we have to take two marginal values of k. So for k marginal is equal to plus 35.68, we will get s is equal to plus minus j 2.56, and for k marginal value is equal to plus 23.31, we will get s is equal to plus minus j 1.56. Okay, so these are the points of intersection of the root locus with the imaginary axis. Seventh step is to calculate the angle of arrival and angle of departure as applicable. So first we have to draw the pole 0 plot. This is our pole 0 plot. Now we have to take the complex conjugate poles and consider a complex pole as a reference or pole under consideration. So we are taking this pole at S is equal to -2 plus 3.46 J as pole under consideration. Now to this pole we will draw phasors from the remaining poles and zeros. So these are the phasors from the remaining poles and zeros. Now we have to find out the angle which these phasors are making with the positive real axis. Okay, now we represent the name of these points like this: A, B, C, D and E. Now what we will do, first we will take this complex pole -2 -3.46 J and find out the angle which this phasor making with the positive real axis. So this is 90 degree by observation. That means phi P1 we are getting 90 degree. Now we have to take this AB phasor for AB. Let us take this angle as theta1. So if we find out this angle theta1 and subtract this angle from 180 degree, we can find out this total angle which this phasor is making with the positive real axis. So this angle will be phi P2. Okay, so first we will find out theta. So we will take triangle A, E and B. In triangle AB, AEB, theta 1 will be equal to tan inverse of opposite upon base. Opposite is AE divided by base is EB. Okay, so AE will be equal to, we will take only the magnitude, it is equal to plus 3.46. So we will get theta 1 is equal to tan inverse of AE is plus 3.46 divided by EB. We have to find out. So magnitude we have to take, this is 1, this is 2 and this is 3. So total 3 will be divided here. So we will get theta 1 is equal to 49.1 degree. Now we have to find out this phi P2 angle which is equal to 180 degree minus this 49.1 degree. So when we solve this, we will get 130.894 degree. We have to find out the angle which this phasor AC is making with the positive real axis. That means this angle we have to find out. This angle will be phi P3. For finding this angle, let us assume this angle as theta 2 for phasor AC in triangle AEC. What is theta 2? Theta 2 will be equal to tan inverse of opposite means AE divided by base is EC. So theta 2 will be equal to tan inverse AE will be 3.46 divided by EC. We have to find out, this is 1, this is 2, to total 2 will be there. So when we solve this, we will get theta 2 is equal to, approximately it is equal to 60 degree. So our phi P2 will be equal to 180 degree minus 60 degree which is equal to 120 degree. This is phi P3 actually. So phi P3 will be equal to 120 degree we are getting. Now we have to find out the angle which this AD phasor from this 0 of S is equal to -1 is making with the positive real axis. That means we have to find out phi Z1. Okay, so for this we will take this angle as theta 3. So for phasor AD, we have to take the triangle AED. In the triangle AED, theta 3 will be equal to tan inverse of opposite is AE divided by base is ED. Okay, so from here we will get tan inverse of AE is 3.46 divided by this base value is 1. So here we will write 1. So we will get tan inverse 3.46 which is equal to when we solve this, we will get theta 3 is equal to 73.89 degree. Now we have to find out phi Z1. Phi Z1 will be equal to 180 degree minus this theta 3. So minus 73.89 degree. When we solve this, we will get phi Z1 is equal to 106.102 degree. Next step is to find out phi. Phi will be equal to sigma phi P minus sigma phi z. So whatever angles we are getting, phi p1, phi p2 and phi p3, we have to sum up here to get sigma phi p, and we are getting only one angle for only 10 phi z1, so we'll write here. So sigma phi p will be equal to phi p1 plus phi p2 plus phi p3, and sigma phi z will be equal to phi z1. Now we will put all the values here. When we sum up all this, phi p1, phi p2, phi p3, we are getting 340.894 degree minus phi z1 is 106.102. Final phi will be equal to 234.792 degree we are getting. Okay, now the angle of departure formula is 180 degree minus phi. So when we put this value of phi here, I am directly writing the phi d. Phi d is equal to minus of 54.792 degree. Okay, so this phi d, this angle of departure we are getting at this pole. Okay, so here we will get phi d is equal to minus of 54.792 degree, and at this pole we will get angle of departure is equal to plus 54.792 degree, because we know that root locus is symmetrical about real axis. The 8th step is to combine all the steps from 1 to 7 to draw the final root locus. On this graph paper, we will draw the final root locus. For this, first we will represent all the poles and zeros which we found out from the open loop transfer function of the system. There are 4 poles and 1 zero we have to represent. So in this way we have represented all the pole zeros. We have taken real axis as sigma and imaginary axis as j omega axis here. Now what we have to do? We have to represent the centroid, which is the intersection point of the asymptotes. It is equal to minus of 0.67. Somewhere here we have minus of 0.67. Now what we have to do? We have 3 angle of asymptotes. Using this as center, we have to draw 3 angles, that is 60 degree, 300 degree and 180 degree. So now we will keep the protector and measure 60 degree. Somewhere here we have 60 degree. Now we will keep the protector in the opposite direction and measure 300 degree. From this direction it will be equal to 60 degree only. So now we will draw all the angles like this. This is our angle theta 1, which is equal to 60 degree. This is theta 2, which is 180 degree. This is theta 3, which is equal to 300 degree. Now we have represented all the asymptotes on the graph paper. Now next step is to represent the intersection point of the root locus on the imaginary axis, which is equal to S is equal to plus minus 1.56 j. So somewhere here we have plus 1.56 j and this is minus of 1.56 j, and second intersection point is plus minus 2.56 j. So somewhere here we have plus 2.56 j and somewhere here we have minus 2.56 j. Now we have to represent the angle of departure with respect to positive x-axis. So this angle will be our minus 54.79 degree at this pole of minus 2 plus 3.46 j, and this angle will be equal to plus 54.79 degree at the pole of minus 2 minus 3.46 j. Now we have to represent the breakaway or break-in points. So these are our breakaway and break-in points. This plus 0.45 is a breakaway point because it is lying between two poles of S is equal to 0 and S is equal to plus 1, but this minus of 2.25 is a break-in point because it is lying between a 0 and S is equal to minus infinity point. Therefore this will be a break-in point. Now what we have to do? We have to draw the final root locus. So this is our final root locus. So here we can see that these both complex poles are coming towards this break in point of minus 2.25, then divide into two different branches. One branch of this root locus will go towards s is equal to minus infinity, that means it will approach towards infinity, and one branch of the root locus will end at or terminate at this 0 of s is equal to minus 1. Here one breakaway point of plus 0.45 is there. So these two poles of s is equal to 0 and s is equal to plus 1 are there. So from these two poles, two branches will come towards this break-in point like this, and they will divide into two different branches. Okay, so one of the branch will cut at plus 1.56j, and then it will again cut at plus 2.56j and move along this asymptote of angle theta 1 is equal to 60 degree. That means this branch of the root locus will approach towards infinity. Again, one more branch of root locus will cut the imaginary axis at minus 1.56j, and again it will cut the imaginary axis at minus of 2.56j, and this branch will move along this asymptote which is of angle 300 degree. It will again approach towards s is equal to infinity. That means because we have three angle of asymptotes, we have three branches of root locus which are approaching towards infinity. This branch is also approaching towards infinity, this branch is approaching towards infinity, and this branch is approaching towards infinity, and one of the branch of the root locus will approach towards this 0 of s is equal to minus 1. So in this way we can draw the whole root locus. Now we have to comment on the stability of the system. So here we got for k is equal to plus 35.68, which is marginal value of k. We got s is equal to plus minus 2.56j, and for k marginal is equal to plus 23.31, we got s is equal to plus minus 0.56j. So here we have represented the values of k according to the values of s. For k is equal to 35.68 and for k is equal to plus 23.31, which are marginal values of k, the system will be marginally stable because these k values are marginal values of k. And for a range of k from 23.31 to 35.68, the system is stable. Why the system is stable? This point is for plus 35.68 and this point is for plus 23.31. So from this point to this point, our root locus is lying in the left half of S plane. Therefore the system is stable in this range of values of k. And in the negative imaginary axis also we can see that from k is equal to plus 23.31 to k is equal to 35.68, the root locus lying in the left half of the S plane. Therefore the system is stable in this range of values of k. And if k ranges from 0 to 23.31, this is value of k is equal to 0. So from k is equal to 0 to k is equal to 23.31, the root locus is lying in the right half of S plane. Therefore the system is unstable here. And for k greater than 35.68, after this point the k is greater than 35.68. So here we can see that the root locus is lying in the right half of the S plane. Therefore the system is unstable in this range also. So only the system is stable in the range of 23.31 and 35.68. So since the stability of the system depends on the conditions of the values of k, the system is said to be conditionally stable system here. Okay, so hope you have understood the topic. Thank you very much for watching and please do subscribe my channel for more updates.